Hello everyone, my name is Lucky Lydrick and we're here at the FHA Food and Beverage Expo in Singapore, and my stylishly handsome guest who hails from Germany is none other than Mr. Patrick Inomoto, who's a food scientist and biochemist. Thank you, Patrick, for agreeing to come to my talk show to educate the audience about lab-grown cultured meat. Right, this is a very new area of science, and incidentally, the Singapore Food Agency is the very first government regulatory body in the world to actually authorize and legalize the commercial sale of lab-grown meat for public consumption. So, because it's so new, there's a lot lacking of public awareness, first of all, as well as understanding of what it is, and some people are afraid. In fact, they did studies that the US is very reluctant to adopt this kind of new science, and yet like for example, Singapore say it's completely safe to eat, safe to consume, and that's why they made it commercial, and you can buy it, you can eat it. So first of all, tell the audience a little bit about your background, about yourself.
First, thanks for having me. Of course, I love to talk about the topic. It's one of my passions. I'm biochemist by training, so I study the behavior of cells and metabolism, so how they grow, how they behave, and how to produce them to manufacture, basically. So this is where I come from.
Right. So you work for a company called Innocent Meat, and you guys have a plug and play automated process to help companies kind of culture and grow their own meat. And also, actually to begin with, most people they're scratching their head. What exactly is lab-grown meat? How is it even grown? How is it made? And is it really chemically the same structure as real meat?
Yes. It's a question that we hear also a lot. Cultured meat, is it that plant-based meat? Basically, it's completely different. It's real meat, just grown outside of the animal. So everything starts with the real living animal on the farm, where we take our samples from. So we extract tissue, it's exactly the same process if you would go to a hospital, and they analyze your muscle structure. So they cut out a small proportion, and then we isolate from this small proportion of tissue some specific cells. These cells are called stem cells, and the stem cells have the great potential to form different tissues. So we can use them to form muscle tissue, fat tissue, and connective tissue, which is basically exactly meat. You can really see inside our labs under the microscope, the muscles are fully functional, tensing, working like they would have a little workout. The fat cells, you see all these fat droplets like you see in the pen when you cook them, connective tissue that is kind of this wobbly structure like tendon. So it's great to see how that functions.
So under the microscope is actually the same, right?
Exactly.
The same. So why do you think people are so afraid to try it? They think it's Frankenstein.
Yes, exactly. That's what we also hear quite often. Lab is, in my opinion, or in society's opinion, negatively affected. So it's sterile, it's clean. Nobody knows what's happening inside. So it's not magic what we're doing. It's not something we change everything and try to play God, basically.
Yes.
So all we do is nature given. We doesn't change anything inside the genome. So it's all natural. The cells grow by themselves. We just make everything as comfortable for them as possible. You could think of a Tamagotchi, for example, that wants to eat and wants to be played with. It's the same thing with the cells. We keep it nice and warm, like 30, 70 degrees. Like in our body, we feed them with the best food they can get, which is glucose and vitamins and all these delicious stuff that they like, basically. And if they are happy, they grow. And if they are very happy, they grow faster. With that, we form the biomass that can be turned into meat finally.
Right, so when you talk about meat, what kind of meat can be replicated in lab-grown? Is it just chicken, or is it much more?
Basically, we have the possibilities to create every kind of meat that is imaginable. So we as company are focused currently on pork, because we are collaborating with existing meat industry. They are focused on sausages, on burger production, and they often use pork. But it is also possible to extract the tissue from chicken, from cattle, everything you can think of. And even if you think of animals that already extincted, like mammoths, for example, we could possibly culture them because you can extract the DNA from very, very old samples, put it into new cells, and grow cells that are long extinct.
Wow, that's so fascinating, right? To think about it. So seafood is no problem.
Seafood is also no
Lobster,
problem. Everything you can
oyster,
imagine.
anything. Wow. If you say, okay, how about like something strange like cat meat, horse meat, panda meat?
It could be potentially then everything, like for example, there are traditional Asian medicals
Yes.
that rely on tiger or shark, for example.
Yeah,
it's
shark
all
fin.
possible.
Shark fin, right? For
Exactly,
example.
exactly. And
Right.
you don't have to slaughter these animals anymore, so there's no ethical reason why you shouldn't use it. Of course, this is not a major market for us currently, but in the future. it will
Yeah, it's
become one.
completely the future. It opens the floodgates for so much utilization, and because it's still pretty new. It's not understood, and if I didn't pass by a booth, I wouldn't have discovered that it's actually so proliferated here already. And so kind of tell the audience a bit about what the ethics and morals, how this changes the game in a way for things like for future debate for like, is it halal, is it kosher? What do you think about this?
It's a great discussion that we have from time to time. You think of cultured meat has different background than conventional meat. So it's slaughter-free. It takes a lot of the ethical concerns from vegan people away. If you consider then this discussion about halal and kosher, it mainly comes down to a religious thought from these people that it's an unpure animal. And then there are specific ways to slaughter them and to make them more clean. And basically the cultured meat is the cleanest possible way to have meat. So it never came into contact with any bacteria. It didn't walk around in dirt or something like porks like to do. They like to play in the mud. Our cells have never seen mud basically, so they're totally clean. And potentially we could have kosher and halal cultured meat if we take it from kosher and halal slaughtered animals. Of course, that's again not that innocent because we have to kill then that animal, but then it should be possible. But in the end, that has to be decided by the religious authorities themselves.
Governing bodies. Yeah, yeah. So could you explain to the audience, the process of like how these stem cells are, grown inside a bioreactor? What's the process?
Exactly. Basically, you can think of something that everybody has seen before, like a brewery. They have these huge tanks, these vessels where they grow yeast in basically. Yeast forms the beer. It's biotechnology invented hundreds of years ago. So we are just starting from that point. So we changed that vessel, and that can now just multiply mammalian cells. So basically we put them in there, they grow in the kind of growth medium, which give them all the delicious food I described before. So they develop, they multiply, and then we can transfer them into the final tissue. So we give them external signaling that they know exactly, okay, I have to come now from a stem cell to muscle tissue. And then they form that in around 3 days. So in total we have processes times around 7 days to produce hundreds of kilograms of meat.
Just 1 week. Amazing. So it just makes it so much more environmentally sustainable. It's less polluting of the environment, and like you say, it's free of diseases and viruses, and it's just much more sterile, controlling the process. Like wow, I'm actually blown away. It's very interesting, and it's absolutely the future, and it should I think it's so much more ethical because there's no actual animal being slaughtered or killed, right? So from a moral standpoint, it's more humane.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Has a lot of benefits from an ethical point of view,
Yeah.
but also when it comes down to sustainability. The process that we are using are not using any antibiotics, so it helps reducing diseases all over
Yes,
the world.
inflammation as well.
It needs less water than feeding an animal for a long period of
Yeah.
time till it reaches the size it needs.
And you don't have to feed it water or food, and it doesn't poop. It doesn't
Exactly.
emit gas like cows do, like
Exactly.
polluting, causing global warming, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
also the cells need less feed. Because if you think of a cow eats grass and has to form bones and the brain and also walks around and loses energy by that. the cells use every single calorie they take up almost exclusively for building biomass.
Yeah.
So they are much more efficient in building biomass.
So it's more nutritious in that sense.
No, you need just less nutrition to feed them.
Less
so you get
nutrition,
the same biomass
same yield
with
or less.
with
Got
less
you,
feeding.
got you. Yeah, I also like the analogy you gave. Like it's like kind of like beer brewing or kombucha brewing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but what is the cell latching on it? Is
Sorry?
it like what kind of substance or like collagen? Is that kind of a collagen thing or that cell is latching on in order to grow?
Yes. To admit, the cells alone doesn't do the job. So
Yeah.
they are used to have a surface that they grow on. In
yeah.
our body, that's called connective tissue.
Yes.
That is made of collagen. You're absolutely right with that. But collagen is an animal-derived protein. One way to provide that to the customers would be either take it from an animal, but then we have again an animal product, or produce it in a recombinant way, which would make it more expensive. So we could produce it in other bacteria or plants. So we developed basically a technology, we call it scaffold, which is a very, very cheap material that we can process where the cells can grow on in very, very high densities. So we can scale the processes to industrial scales.
Wow. I feel like a science nerd already just listening to that. Tell the audience a bit about the farm in the box, right? And your plug and play automated process that you helping food businesses to create their own cultured lab-grown meat with space as little as just 6 square meters. You would think that something like this needs a lot of space, right? But when I researched what Innocent Meat, your company, does, only 6 square meters.
Exactly, yes. Basically, we came up with that idea, a farm in a box,
Yeah.
because we have been in long contact with meat processors, and they are having the issue where to get the raw material, which is animals. We have increasing diseases all around the world, the price is increasing, so they have to look for an alternative. And we are experts in cultured meat, and we thought it's difficult for us to spread it to the world. So let's connect with these people that are already spreading meat to the world and have difficulties with the raw product. So we give them the technology to produce that cultured meat directly at their production site and spread it to the world. Everybody can enjoy by that cultured meat. So we hand them a complete farm in a box kind. So they get the process where the farm is included. They can grow their own raw product like animals and get just the final product as meat directly at their production.
So it's a completely turnkey process, very easy, just effortlessly. They don't need to be scientists themselves. You can just give them the plug and play, the whole manual, and then the equipment, the stem cells, whatever, all the material and all the software, and they can instantly start.
Exactly.
Right?
It's an end-to-end plug and produce system. You can imagine like a coffee machine that you put somewhere, you go there, you press a button, your coffee comes readily out.
Yeah.
You have maybe no idea how that works, but you don't have to because it works. And we provide exactly that technology. You have the bioprocess, you press a button, and in the end, cultured meat comes out, and we refill the machine that you always get when you press the button.
Okay, so in 1 week, how much volume of meat can it produce?
That highly depends on the demand of our customers. You mentioned we are working in bioreactors and they have a specific footprint. So we always calculate in reactor size amounts. And currently we are working with 2,500 liter bioreactors where we can produce exactly 1.25 kilotons per week. So in just 6 square meters place or room, we can produce almost 1.5 kilotons per single week.
I can't even visualize what that means.
Yes, if you imagine that would be one bioreactor with 6 square meters, so possibly in your garage,
Yes.
you could process 65 kilotons per year. And then you can scale that by just putting more bioreactors next to each other to unimaginable numbers.
Yeah, very fascinating. Could you tell the audience where can they go to find out more about Innocent Meat, about you, and about Farm in the Box?
Yes, of course. We have a website. You can visit us at www.innocent-meat.com, or you can reach out directly to me at LinkedIn, for example, at Patrick Inomoto. I'm always happy to discuss the topic, to spread the topic around the world, because I truly believe in culture.
Right, thank you so much for coming to my show to educate everyone out there on cultured lab-grown meat. It is truly the future. There's so much applications and so much more sustainable, and I hope people see there's an alternative, more environmentally friendly way of procuring their meat. Right, so thank you guys for watching this video. Please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more similar videos and check out his links below. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.